Tuesday, December 26th, 2023. Market analysis. Stan Ehrlich. Hope you had a great holiday. We are still starting out with the stock market indexes as usual. Then I'm going to go into the Santa Claus rally, which is actually doing pretty good today, and the futures markets. So the March futures E-mini is close to stopping us out of a short position we got into last week with a bearish engulfing ER sell signal that's at the moment not working. And frankly, we're real close to getting stopped out, but we have not gotten hit, maybe even during this YouTube, unfortunately. But this is the same spot where markets double top out. That kind of activity, it just hasn't started to slip enough to be convincing about that at all at this point. Next chart is Spider, SPY. And we again are very, very close, as you would expect. Same thing as the March futures contract, basically. Two previous highs last week with a sell signal last week, and we're short and not happy at the moment. But overbought conditions, historical resistance, previous highs, good conditions for the beginning of a sell-off. It just hasn't started yet, and therefore I do nothing at this point. Next, 1 minute Spider has just made slight new highs for the day and is very much challenging the highs of last week on Friday, that is. And that is just a tiny bit below Thursday's high. So, or Wednesday, that is. But they need to break through. So this is a resistance spot, relatively short term. Next spot is the DIA on a daily data chart. And you can say almost exactly the same thing across the board. So gaps to close below the market really should have, after an extended period of overbought conditions in many indexes, some significant correction. It just hasn't started. Next, Russell 2000 is approaching the second to the last major resistance area, which is really a 209.25. We are 203.5. Overbought again. Gaps to close below the market, and some support relatively close by, but it just won't turn around any significant amount. We did have a sell signal last week. It was stopped out on Friday, so we're not in a trade at the moment. And overbought conditions again, prime situation. I continue to say that. It's crazy. Excuse me, for a sudden bearish turn. Next, QQQs, daily data, new highs for the move, almost. Our predicted buy stop is so close to the high, it's probably several ticks, but we are still short from ER3 on, I guess that's Thursday of last week with this Wednesday signal. Not liking it, blah, blah, same across the indexes, basically. NASDAQ, daily data, futures contract, March, same thing, just doesn't seem to want to come down. It's overreacting, in my personal opinion, from a technician's point of view, to the relatively neutral to modestly good, but expected to be good and overbought before the market got the good news. FOMC announcement a couple of weeks ago. So I think it's just overdone it, but there must have been some other fundamentals probably that corroborated, and here we are. We'll see what happens next. Next, we've got the March NASDAQ futures contract daily data. Oh, no, I'm sorry. This is the 1 minute chart, and it is close to the very high of the day. Let's go to that Santa Claus rally. Here we are. We actually have a profit on the first and third trade. The second trade closed on the first day with a profit to begin with. On the second day, a little bit more, and today a little bit more. But again, I'm very fearful. But so far, so good with the Santa Claus rally. So you have an opportunity, if you wanted not to follow the rules, to get out and do what you want to do. Lots of people do, for better or worse. Good opportunity, maybe, maybe not. Overbought, all the reasons to set on the other indexes. No ifs, ands, or buts about that. I need probably a move down below 471.67 and stay there and go even further south in order to be optimistic about this last 4 days being toppy. Right now, I wish I could say that with some conviction. Next chart is the spider 5-minute. You can see, oh, I'm sorry, we're still on the Santa Claus rally futures contracts, and we're going to go to the S&P 500 continuation contract. These are all continuation contracts. That's great for a variety of reasons. Although the prices are not exactly the same, it moves the way the underlying futures contracts do, a mix of the first two nearby contracts. So close to stopping us out. Next, close to stopping us out on the NASDAQ. Bonds, inside trading range day. Doji, kind of calm, up to slight little bit, overbought the last couple of weeks. Looks like it is losing momentum a little bit above a resistance area, which I called for as a upside objective after our buy signal on the bottom of the bond market to the exact date, October 23rd. 10-year notes, we're still long. Now, this red bearish engulfing, disregard because that's not the price action from the previous trading day. This is supposed to be yellow and a doji, so that's not a bearish signal, period. Anomaly in weekends occasionally. Now, our stop is still lingering behind a bit. A little uncomfortable with that, but we have already tightened it up about as tight as I can do at this point. Great trade, no offense or buts about it. We got almost the low day, and obviously in a couple of days later on the ER3, and off it went. We'll see what happens next. I'm trying to get it to come down. I realize that's going to potentially hit my stop, but so be it. Next, crude. This could very well be an outside up day, a bullish engulfing, but it is nowhere near oversold, so there's nowhere near a green buy signal. And it is simply a bullish engulfing, implying, and we're not quite overbought yet, that it could pop up quite a bit real fast, maybe even to 80 and small change, that resistance area. I think that's quite plausible. Next chart, natural gas. Not much of a comment, pass on that. Heating oil. Same commentary, smack dab in the middle of a trading range, support resistance area. Got to break out. Next, gold. Looking a little bit lacklustery, unchanged basically. No reversals yet, not quite overbought. I think it's going to dip back down somewhat, but it could get a lot more bearish. I just can't get a real strong grasp on it. I will say this much. So far, our last signal was at the top of the market. The one before that was at the top of that rally. The one before that was at the bottom of the break. That's a bad signal. That's exactly the low of the move, and that's exactly the high of the move. Not bad. Next, silver. So same commentary as gold. Next, platinum. Now it's got a little support below the market, but its trend is still pretty much down, although, you know, you can make a case for it kind of be being lackluster flat. On the other hand, we are at the resistance areas and about where you would expect, if it continues to be bearish, to turn back down again. So we need to break below that red zone if that's going to happen. And it's not far away. It's pretty close. Otherwise, no comment, really. High grade resistance. Looks like it's trying to stop the rally. Watch for a turn down. Next, soybeans. I think it's going to make new lows, but a little bit stuck in the support resistance area for the moment. Maybe we'll see some of the same thing with oil and meal. Oil, no, complete new slow for the move. Downside breakout, pretty bearish. Pretty look. Now I got to look down to 40.22 as the next potential downside objective. Maybe a little bit higher than that at 44. If we close below previous lows, where it is now, this should be pretty bearish. One caveat: we are oversold. So soon, hours, days, we should not go down too much more and come back to about right here, 48. Next, soybean meal. Support area, trying to hang in there. Looks like a bullish engulfing, but it was not oversold. So we don't have a green bar, but almost. Not many great signals in the soybean oil recently. I see that's a high, that's a low. That's not good. That didn't work. Nope. So Bino is not the greatest lately, but that doesn't mean it could turn into the greatest this next year. Right around the corner, corn may be double bottoming out. I do get these buy signals on the first, sometimes the second low of a double bottom, and occasionally, like silver had last year, on both turning points. Silver was a double top. Both of them were bearish, engulfing ER sell signals. Okay, this looks like it's going to try to form a double bottom. Now, the breakout would be above 494 and small change. And the minimum upside objective, interestingly enough, looks like this resistance area at 515. Next, wheat. And we could be developing something a little bit better in wheat even. If we can close above the high made on December 6th, I'd be willing to even talk about 808 or something like that. Very substantial. Remember, wheat's been going down forever. All right. Live cattle, the buy signal we got on December 15th still holds, and today's bullish engulfing gives the every appearance that we're going to start to making higher highs since the buy signal. Again, on December 15th, just in time. Remember, we do a certain amount of time from being oversold and then having a bullish engulfing, and this was just about the largest amount of time I allot in the code. Excuse me. Looking much better. A little sigh of relief, sort of. Trailing stop hasn't moved yet, I'm sure, and we came awful close to it this morning. Our yellow line at 166.90. Next, live hogs. Pardon my cough. Support area. Very neutral RSI. Looking for it to turn back up, but because RSI is so neutral, there's a chance with the trend being down very decisively for half the year that it could break out to the downside and even challenge the lows here at 57.15. OJ, fantastic. We got the top of the orange juice market, which was the head of a head and shoulder top, and the first shoulder high as well. The last shoulder, I was off one day. It topped out a day earlier than expected and a little bit lower than expected. I was looking for the middle of the circle, or at least in the circle. Had a false breakout, fiddled around a day or two or three, and then started to break out and crash. We're short from the top, ER3, and loving it. Our stop is coming down pretty quickly, which is great, in my opinion. Support area didn't hold. Looks like we got a new low close, let alone a new low as well in the makings today. The minimum downside objective I'm showing you is 288 and a few ticks. And I do expect a rally between now and getting down to 288 or even lower because of the oversold condition we've now been in for 3 days and the speed at which it's dropping. So I really expect to bounce this week, but I'm looking forward to 288. Next, cocoa. What to say? Maybe a reversal today. Not overbought. I'm not going to get a red sell signal. It might be a bearish engulfing. Let's see what happens. Next, coffee. Inside day, overbought, pulled back sharply, coming up just a little bit. Needs to start making lower lows here than the last few days in order to be a little more convincing on the bearish side. What I really don't like, if I was going to stick with the bullish story, is the fact that it jammed its way into new high ground on a big, huge rally in overbought conditions for 1 day, basically, and a fraction opening lower the next day and dropping right back down below those old lows, old highs, I meant. But a little support's holding. A slight rock and a little bit of a hard spot. A bullish engulfing in the making if we can get higher than Thursday's high, which hasn't happened yet in sugar. But it's so oversold and for so long, I wouldn't be surprised. And I fully expect the beginning of a rally here. It looks like maybe today's lower low without closing anywhere near a lot lower on the day, at least at this moment, could be an indication it's turning up. Next, cotton. Support is holding slowly, and we are definitely between a rock and a hard spot. In order to get a rally up to the resistance area where we've been many times, we'd have to obviously clear 83.22 Otherwise, there's a chance it could finally drop off in a new low ground for many months. Next, E-mini, still flirting with the highs, still up 150. Last I glanced, it was 160, 70, something like that. So it just came back down to a very small, nothing amount. And here we are to the NASDAQ futures again. We've gone completely around the block. You guys have a great trading day. Talk to you tomorrow.